All right, we're on the top NBA players of all time list, the top 60 countdown. My opinion, of course. Hopefully you've been keeping up with these videos. Started at 60, then worked my way all the way down to number 41. The last person on my top 60 list was Willis Reed at number 41. I mentioned how he was quite possibly the second greatest New York Knick to ever play in Madison Square Garden for the Knicks, for New York. And he's in the argument with Clyde Frazier, who I've also mentioned on my list already as well. But he's not number one, for me at least. Now, some people out there probably going to say Willis Reed is the greatest Knick. And, you know, we could debate about it, but I respect that. But for me, the number one player in New York Knicks history is my number 40 on my list. Big Pat, Patrick Ewing. Standing at 7 feet out of Georgetown, was the Rookie of the Year in his first season in the NBA. Patrick Ewing was a complete animal out there. And he was truly, to me, the best New York Knick of all time. And there's been some good Knicks. Pat held it down in the late 80s and the 90s, doing his thing as the lone star on that team. Didn't really have another star to play with, and I think that factored into why he never quite got over the hump to get himself a championship. Obviously, those Bulls teams were tough to get by, and they had multiple stars on the team. He ran into the Pacers, the Houston Rockets in the championship. But Big Pat during his time was doing his thing, a highly skilled big man in a time where it was tough to be a center in the NBA, a lot of competition. And Big Pat held his own during the prime of his career. First of all, he's a 7-time All-NBA stud, 11-time All-Star. He was on the defensive All-NBA team 3 times. In his prime, he was getting you about 24 points a game, like 11 boards a game, about 3 blocks a game. So he was holding it down for you on the offensive end in the paint, cleaning the glass, and protecting the rim. Pat had a smooth mid-range jumper that was a thing of beauty to watch. And you couldn't foul him because he could get to that free throw line and knock them down at about a 70% clip, which was special back then for a center. And he was 50% from the field. So he could do it all. Post moves, finish around the rim. Complete package was Patrick Ewing. And my top 40 on my list of the top 60. Now, number 39 on my list is another center, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard was another big-time center. In his era, the center position was starting to fade a little bit. Not quite what it was during Patrick's time, but Dwight nevertheless held it down in the NBA. Known as Superman, even though Shaq would have something to say about that, this dude was amazing based on his athletic ability. Dwight Howard, an 8-time All-NBA standout. He was also 5 times on the All-Defensive team. He was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. That's special. Not many people in the league have been Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. He's on a very short list for that one. And that was part of what made him who he was. Dwight Howard made players around him better, not just on the offensive end, because he was no slouch on offense, even though he didn't have much of a jumper, not the smooth jumper like Patrick Ewing, I was saying, but he could clean the glass. He throw the ball up anywhere near the rim, he was going to go get it because he could jump out the gym. But he was getting you 20 without a jumper, 13, 14 rebounds a game, 2.5 blocks. And his ability to not only help on defense, meaning come from the help side and clean up blocks and clean up boards, but he could check his own man too. I remember seeing him one time grab the ball out the air for a block, which is deflating for a defensive player. I mean, for the offensive player to have a defensive player do that to you. And he's also an NBA champion. While he got a team to the finals as the main man on the team, wasn't able to get a title that way, but he was able to contribute as part of that 2020 squad in the bubble with the Lakers with LeBron James, and he was a contributing piece as a starter. So Dwight Howard, number 39 on my list, and number 38, none other than somebody playing right now, Luka Doncic, Luka legend. Luka Magic, as they say. Luka at 6'7", about 230 pounds, although he looking like he done slimmed up now. I'm looking forward to seeing what skinny Luka about to do out there. But even at 230, Luka does what he wants on the floor. He's only been in the league about 7 years, and his career averages are 28, 8, and 8. That's better career average than LeBron James got across the board in those numbers, meaning points, rebounds, and assists. Luka can give it to you wherever you want it, from deep. Even though his jumper percentage-wise ain't as great as it needs to be, I think that's an area of improvement that could take him even higher up on this list. But he can knock down the three with range, can get you on his hip and work out of the post, get to the cup, finish with either hand. Even though he ain't athletic, his skill set is phenomenal, and his IQ is some of the best I've ever seen in the game. He was the Rookie of the Year and then went from there to be first team All-NBA 5 straight seasons. Luka is definitely that dude and deserving and still climbing on the list, but right now I got him at 38. And at 37, a guy that coached Luka, Jason Kidd, at the point guard position like Luka, around 6'4". Jason Kidd was a stud at the point guard position, one of the all-time greats. He was about a 6 or 7 time All-Pro, All-NBA player, but he was 9 times on the All-Defensive team. He strapped up. Now, Kidd was known in his heyday for not having much of a jumper. I used to call him Acing Kidd because he couldn't hit a jumper, but it didn't matter because he was so fast and athletic, he could get where he needed to be and finish around the basket. He wasn't much of a scorer, though, but he did a little bit of everything, and his best attribute was his leadership, his basketball IQ, his court vision. In his prime, he gets you about 15, 9 assists, 6 or 7 boards. He'd strap up on your best perimeter player, and he was a one-man fast break. But he led 2 New Jersey Nets teams to the finals with a squad around him where they weren't a whole bunch of superstars. Jason Kidd was the engine, and he had a lot of great role players, but he made that thing work. Then, as the role player and the point guard being the floor general with the Dallas Mavericks, he became an NBA champion and worked on his jumper and got that going as well. So Jason Kidd, easily one of the all-time greats, number 37 on my list. All right, that's all the time I got. Y'all know what it is, and you know who you're looking for. JHEATsportsmedia. And I'm coming at y'all with that fire, as always. And y'all know where to find me. YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Make sure you subscribe.